The HOA president just dialed the cops, claiming I'm trespassing on my own ranch. Can you believe it? Victoria Peterson swooped in, gifted my tour lake to her son Tyler, slapped up an official-looking sign, and had me hauled off when I dared to protest. She spun a wild tale to the officers, insisting I was a menace, blocking community kids from their rightful lake. This woman acts like she owns the whole neighborhood and can snatch whatever she pleases. But here's the kicker: she has no clue who she's dealing with, and trust me, this revelation is about to turn her world upside down. You're in for the most jaw-dropping HOA Karen takedown ever caught on camera. Comment on what country you're watching from. I'm dying to know how far this story is spreading. One gorgeous Monday morning, I woke up ready to fish, like always, but when I stepped onto my porch, I froze. Towering beside my lake shore was a massive oakwood sign, nearly as big as my front door. Its golden letters carved in bold relief: Tyler Peterson Memorial Lake. Gift from HOA President Vicki Peterson to the community. Below, a drawing of a boy swimming came with tiny text reading, "Dedicated to our future generation, open to all community children." I stood there, coffee cup still steaming in my hand, my brain scrambling to make sense of it. Someone had just handed my lake over to the community, and wait, Memorial Lake. Tyler's still alive, isn't he? A burst of loud laughter broke the morning stillness. There was Tyler, lounging by the lakeshore, phone in hand, live streaming with a giddy voice. "Yo, guys, welcome to Tyler's Lake. Mom just gifted me this entire lake for my birthday, to whole acres of private water. Who's coming to my pool party this weekend?" Comments flooded in like a waterfall. "Oh my God, so lucky. Your mom is amazing. Can I come swim?" Tyler kept bragging. "Yeah, my mom is the HOA president here. Basically, she controls everything." What struck me most wasn't just Tyler's arrogance, but how genuinely convinced he seemed about his mother's authority. This wasn't a kid putting on a show for social media. He really believed that being the HOA president's son gave him special privileges in the community. I wondered how many other lies Vicki had told him about her position and powers. Had she convinced him that HOA presidents were like small-town mayors with unlimited authority, or was this just the natural result of a lifetime of being told he was special and deserved whatever he wanted? Either way, it was clear that Tyler had no understanding of property rights, community governance, or basic respect for other people. He was live streaming from my private property, like he owned the place, completely oblivious to how inappropriate his behavior was. She said this old guy who lived here before was being selfish, keeping this beautiful lake all to himself, so she decided to liberate it for the community. "I'm basically the lake manager now." I calmly walked over, voice-controlled, "Tyler, I need you and your mom to remove this sign immediately." Tyler looked up, face annoyed at being interrupted from his live stream. "Excuse me, who are you?" "I'm David Miller. I own this property, including this lake." Tyler laughed, mockingly, turning back to his camera guys. "The old owner is here trying to cause trouble. But don't worry, my mom handled the legal stuff." I remained patient. "Tyler, this is private property. That sign needs to come down now, dude." Tyler waved his hand dismissively. "My mom is the HOA president. She controls everything around here. This lake is now community property. She has the power to do that." Live stream viewers started commenting. "Tell him Tyler, old man, needs to chill. HOA power." I looked at Tyler with a slight smile, Really, that's interesting. Tyler grew more confident. Yeah, she said something about eminent domain and community benefits. You can't stop progress, old man, like being summoned. Vicky Peterson appeared from the small path, carrying a fake designer handbag, wearing a white shirt and navy blazer, her blonde bob perfectly styled. She walked with the attitude of someone who just won a major lawsuit. Tyler, sweetie, what's going on here? Her voice was sweet as honey, but her eyes looked at me sharp as knives. Mom, this guy wants me to remove our sign. Vicky turned to me, flashing a perfect business smile. Oh, David, good morning. I hope you slept well. I was planning to come talk to you today. Anyway, about removing this illegal sign from my property. Vicky's smile didn't waver. Oh, David, I think there might be some confusion here. This isn't about removing anything. This is about our exciting new community lake access project. She pointed at the sign like presenting a product. You see, after careful consideration and consultation with the HOA board, we've decided that this beautiful, natural resource shouldn't be guarded by one person. Think about all the children in our community who could benefit from access to clean water and nature. This is my private property, Vicky. Well, Vicky tilted her head, voice still sweet, but something changing. HOA rules are quite complicated, David. Property rights within an HOA community aren't as absolute as some people think. Tyler added fuel to the fire. Yeah, Mom explained everything to me. Community needs come first. Vicky stroked Tyler's hair. Exactly, sweetie David. I'm sure once you understand the legal framework and the greater good involved, you'll see this is the right thing to do. I looked straight into Vicky's eyes, a mysterious smile appearing. I know HOA rules very well, Vicky. Probably better than you think for the first time. Vicky's smile wavered slightly. Oh, are you a lawyer, David? Let's just say I've been involved with HOAs longer than you might realize. Tyler, not understanding. The tension continued. Live streaming anyway, guys. Pool party this Saturday. Mom's making it official. Vicky regained her composure. David, I really hope we can resolve this amicably. The community has already been informed about the lake access project. It would be unfortunate if one person's selfishness caused problems for everyone. I stood firm, voice calm. Remove the sign, Vicky. I'm afraid that's not possible. The decision has been made through proper HOA channels. Then we have a problem. Vicky stared at me intently, as if calculating. Then she pulled out her phone, voice suddenly shifting to worried. I'm sorry, David, but if you're going to be hostile about this, she dialed 911 911. Yes, I need to report a dangerous situation. An aggressive man is threatening me and my son at our community lake project. He's preventing children from accessing water and making threatening gestures. Tyler looked at his mom, confused. Mom, he didn't really threaten us. Vicky covered the microphone, whispering fiercely. Shut up, Tyler, into the phone. Yes, we're at the lake behind the Miller property on Oakwood Drive. Please hurry. I'm scared for my safety and my son's safety. Within 10 minutes, a police car appeared. Officer Martinez, a tall Latino man with a mustache, stepped out. Ma'am, what seems to be the problem? Vicky immediately ran over. Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man has been threatening us for trying to implement a community access project that was legally approved by our HOA officer. Martinez looked at me. Sir, can I see some identification and proof of property ownership? I calmly handed over my driver's license and property deed. Officer Martinez examined them carefully, then looked at the sign. Ma'am, this property and lake clearly belong to Mr. Miller. Do you have documentation showing HOA authority to place signs on private property? Vicky stammered. Well, the HOA has certain rights community benefit. Unless you have proper legal documentation, this sign is trespassing, Mr. Miller. Has every right to request its removal. After the police left, Vicky stood by her car, face red with anger. Tyler had turned off his live stream, looking at his mom with worry. This isn't over, David, Vicky said, voice no longer sweet. You have no idea what you're dealing with. I run this community, and I have ways to make life very complicated for residents who don't cooperate. Tyler mumbled, Mom, maybe we should just get in the car, Tyler. I stood there, watching them drive away, the sign still there, because Vicky was too angry to remove it. I took it down myself and threw it in my garage. As I watched Vicky's car disappear in the distance, I thought she just made a huge mistake. If she wants to play games with HOA rules and community power, well, let's see how she handles someone who actually knows how the game works. I turned back to look at the lake, and the water surface had returned to peace, but a storm was brewing, and Vicky was about to discover that she had just messed with the wrong person. What secret weapon does David have that could destroy Vicky's reign of terror? Drop your predictions below. What do you think? David is hiding. The following week, my mailbox got bombed by fine notices from the HOA. Every day I received two, 3 sealed envelopes with official letterhead. Oakwood Community HOA, violation notice, violation number 1, landscaping non-compliance. Property owner has failed to maintain community landscaping standards. Excessive wild vegetation around the lake area creates an unsightly appearance. Fine $500. Compliance required within 10 days. I laughed when I read it. Wild vegetation referred to the oak and maple trees that had been there since before the HOA existed. Violation number 2, noise ordinance. Violation, multiple complaints received regarding excessive noise from wildlife on property. Frogs, birds, and other animals are disturbing the peaceful community environment. Fine $300. The owner must take measures to control animal noise control. Animal noise, seriously. Violation number 3, environmental hazard. Lake on property creates potential mosquito breeding ground and emits unpleasant odors affecting neighboring homes. Health Department consultation recommended. Fine $800 immediate. Remediation required. Each fine notice had Victoria Peterson's elegant signature as HOA president and aggressive deadlines of only 7 to 10 days. Tyler wasn't idle either. He posted content daily, showing off his rich kid lifestyle video, unboxing a $200 t-shirt saying, "Thanks, Mom, for the allowance." Increase stories at the motorcycle dealership saying, "Picking out my new ride, Mom said, I deserve it." Dance videos by the public pool saying, "When your mom runs the whole neighborhood." Friday night, I sat in my dark kitchen, a stack of violation notices spread on the table. Total fines $1. $600 and climbing. Lawyer fees to fight these would cost double the fine amount. For the first time since buying the ranch, I felt overwhelmed. Phone placed next to the fine notices. I searched online for rural properties for sale and started browsing. Maybe I should sell the ranch and find somewhere without an HO to live. At least peace of mind is more important than principle. I looked out the window, moonlight reflecting on the lake's surface. This was where I found peace after stressful years. In the tech industry, this was where I rebuilt my life. No, I won't let one Karen destroy this. That's when my phone buzzed email from a strange address. Charlotte Show Bookkeeper at gmail.com. David, I need to see you urgently. Something is very wrong with the HOA finances. Can we meet tomorrow? Please don't tell anyone about this email. Charlotte. Saturday morning. Charlotte came to meet me at my cabin. She's 55 years old, with gray hair, glasses, looking like a retired teacher. Her hands shook as she held her coffee cup. David, I've worked as a bookkeeper for this HOA for 8 years. I never had problems with any HOA president before now. What's happening with Vicky? Charlotte looked around nervously. She's forcing me to approve very strange expenses. This month alone, she's requested $30. Zero for community improvements, but I don't see any improvements. She pulled out a folder of documents. Look at this: lake cleanup consultation, $8,000. Community safety assessment, $12,000. Landscaping emergency fund, $10,000. Are these legitimate services? That's the problem. I don't know, she says. If I question her decisions, she'll report me to state authorities for improper bookkeeping practices. She threatens that I could be prosecuted. Charlotte's hands shook more. David, I need this retirement money. I can't afford legal problems, but my conscience can't stand this anymore. What do you need from me? She's planning a big expense next week. $50. 04. David Miller, Property Lake Remediation Project. She says this is an emergency measure to protect community health. I leaned forward. She's using HOA money to attack my property. Worse than that, the company being hired for this project, I researched. It's owned by someone with the last name Peterson. I think it's Vicky's relative. Charlotte, do you remember the budget manager position from when this HOA was first created? Charlotte looked puzzled for a moment. Then her expression shifted to something like recognition mixed with embarrassment. Oh my goodness, you're right. I do remember that position from the original charter documents, but it's been so long since anyone mentioned it that I honestly forgot it existed. The previous president, Mr. Henderson, never used those powers because he preferred to handle everything through open community discussion. He always said that transparency was more important than authority. She paused, clearly thinking back through the years. Actually, now that you mention it, I remember being confused when Vicky first started making large expenditures without consulting anyone. I kept thinking there should be someone with oversight authority, but I couldn't remember the details. I've been doing this job for so long that I sometimes forget which rules apply to which communities. Different HOAs have different structures, and honestly, I just assumed that if Vicky was confident about her authority, she must know something I didn't. I should have looked up the original documents myself, instead of just trusting her word. Charlotte looked confused. Well, yes, technically, there's a budget manager position from the founding documents, but nobody's used it for years. The position is supposed to oversee all major expenditures over $5. I smiled slowly. Actually, Charlotte, about that position, Charlotte, I need to show you something. I led her to my home office, opened the file cabinet, and pulled out a thick folder labeled HOA Incorporation Documents. 2021, when this HOA was first established, all founding members had to elect initial officers. Most people didn't want boring financial positions. They just wanted architectural control and landscaping decisions. I pulled out a document with an official seal. I was elected as budget manager in the original charter. The position has the authority to review and approve all expenditures over $5 and has the power to freeze accounts. Pending investigation of suspicious activity. Charlotte stared at the paper. You've had this authority this whole time. I never used it because previous HOA presidents were reasonable people. I figured it's better to stay in the background and let the community run itself. But Vicky, she forced my hand so you can stop the $50. Zero expenditure. I can do better than that as budget manager. I have the right to request a full financial audit and freeze the account pending. Review every transaction Vicky's made in the past 6 months will be scrutinized. Charlotte looked hopeful. For the first time, when will you do this? Vicky is planning to approve that $50 at Monday's emergency HOA meeting, right? Yes. 2:00 p.m. Perfect. Let her go through with the presentation. Let her be confident. Then when she tries to actually transfer the money, I smiled. That's when she discovered that her power was always limited. Monday, 7 p.m. The community center meeting room is packed with residents. Vicky stood at the front with a PowerPoint presentation. Emergency lake remediation, protecting our community. She was wearing a sharp business suit, hair perfect, totally confident. Tyler sat in the front row, recording everything for social media. Fellow residents, Vicky began, we face an environmental crisis. The privately owned lake on Oakwood Drive has become a health hazard. Standing water, mosquito breeding, and potential bacterial contamination affecting property values. And the slideshow showed pictures of the lake taken with filters to make it look murky. Fake testimonials about health concerns and a professional look report about immediate remediation needs. After consulting with environmental experts, urgent action is required. Total cost $50. Zero for comprehensive cleanup testing and ongoing monitoring. A resident raised her hand. That seems expensive. Can we get a second opinion? Vicky's smile tightened. This is based on expert analysis. Delays could result in legal liability for our HOA. If property values decline due to environmental hazards. All in favor of emergency lake remediation fund. Hesitant hands raised. Most residents trusted Vicky's expertise and feared legal problems. Motion passed. Charlotte, please process the payment. Immediately, Charlotte stood nervously. I'll submit the transaction now. If Vicky pulled out her phone to show residents she was handling business, I'm calling Peterson Environmental Solutions right now to schedule work for tomorrow. But when Charlotte tried to process the $50, zero transfer on her laptop. Transaction denied. Account frozen pending review. Charlotte stared at the screen, confused. Mrs. Peterson, the transaction was rejected. Vicky maintained composure. Technical glitch. Try again. Charlotte typed carefully. Same message. Vicky's confidence wavered. Let me call the bank. She dialed. Put the phone on speaker to show transparency. First National Bank. This is Victoria Peterson, president of Oakwood Community. Our account number is. Why is our transaction being denied? Bank representative, ma'am, your account has been placed under temporary suspension pending review by your budget manager. Silence in the room. Vicky's face drained of color. Budget manager. Who is the budget manager, according to our records? The budget manager for your HOA is David Miller Pinrop. Silence. Every head turned to look at me. Vicky's voice cracked. That's impossible. I'm the president bank representative. Ma'am, the budget manager position has override authority for expenditures over $5,000. Mr. Miller submitted a formal request this morning for account review due to suspected irregular activity. Tyler stood up, confused. Mom, what's happening? Vicky tried to recover. There must be a mistake. David Miller has no authority in this HOA. I stood slowly, pulled out my official documents. Actually, Vicky, I've been the budget manager since this HOA was incorporated. I just never needed to use that authority until now. The room erupted in Murmurs' residents, who voted for the 50,000, suddenly looked concerned. A neighbor asked David, "How long have you had this position?" "Since 2021, when the HOA was first created." "It's all in the public record." Vicky desperately said, This is sabotage. He's trying to prevent necessary environmental work, actually. I'm preventing what appears to be embezzlement. Charlotte, would you mind sharing with everyone who owns Peterson Environmental Solutions? Charlotte quietly replied, It's owned by Victoria Peterson's brother-in-law. Complete silence. Another resident asked, so Vicky was planning to pay $50,000 to her own family. Vicky shook. That's not the bid was competitive. There were multiple quotes. Show us the other quotes, Vicky. Vicky couldn't produce them because they didn't exist. Tyler tugged at his mom's sleeve. Mom, I don't understand what's happening, Vicky, snapped Tyler. Go wait in the car. For the first time, residents saw Vicky lose composure completely. The mask was slipping, revealing the person underneath. I addressed the room calmly. I'll be conducting a full audit of all HOA expenditures for the past 6 months. Any legitimate expenses will be paid. Any suspicious activities will be reported to the appropriate authorities. Vicky gathered her papers. Frantically, this meeting is adjourned. Actually, Vicky, as budget manager, I'm calling for an emergency vote of no confidence in the current HOA president. A neighbor responded, I second that motion. Multiple voices said, I vote yes. No confidence remove. Vicky practically ran out of the room. This is illegal. I'll sue all of you. Tyler followed, completely confused and scared. As residents filed out, discussing what they had just witnessed, Charlotte approached me. David, what happens now? Now. We follow the money, every transaction, every approved expense, every mysterious payment. Vicky thought she was playing chess with someone who didn't know the rules. I looked out the window, where Vicky's car sped away. She's about to learn that the quietest person in the room is often the one who's actually running the game. Charlotte smiled for the first time in months. Should I prepare full financial records for review? Yes. And Charlotte, this time you won't have to worry about anyone threatening your job for doing the right thing. How much money has Vicky really stolen, and where did it all go? Comment your wildest guess about how much Vicky embezzled. Closest answer gets pinned. The following week, Vicky went into full damage control mode. She called an emergency meeting with Charlotte at the HOA office at 6:00 a.m., hoping nobody would see them together. The early hour and secret nature of the meeting showed just how desperate she'd become. Charlotte, we need to fix this situation immediately. If Vicky's voice was no longer the sweet, manipulative tone she used in public now, it was pure desperation mixed with barely controlled panic. That money wasn't misspent. It was donated to charity, which is a perfectly legitimate use of HOA funds. Charlotte sat nervously across from Vicky, her hands clasped tightly. In her lap, Mrs. Peterson, I don't understand what you mean. The $30,000 from past months, every penny went to our community charity fund called Says Otherwise is Lying. Vicky pulled out hastily created paperwork. The ink barely dry on some documents. See official charity registration. All the expenditures were charitable donations that benefit our entire neighborhood. Charlotte examined the documents with growing concern. but these papers look very new. The registration date is from last week, and I don't remember processing any charity donations in our accounting system. Dropping Charlotte, are you questioning my integrity? Because I have to remind you that bookkeeping irregularities can result in serious legal consequences. Forgetting to properly categorize transactions could be seen as negligent or worse. Charlotte shrank back in her chair. No, Mrs. Peterson, I just want to make sure everything is correct, according to proper accounting procedures. Good. Now, I need you to update all financial records immediately to reflect these charitable donations. Every transaction needs to be recategorized as community outreach. Vicky leaned forward menacingly, and Charlotte, if anyone asks, these donations have been part of our community outreach program for months. You understand me? The threat was clear and unmistakable. Meanwhile, Tyler continued living his best life, completely oblivious to the brewing storm around his mother's criminal activities. His social media exploded with luxury purchases and lifestyle content that would soon become evidence of his mother's crimes. Stories at the motorcycle dealership with captions like, "Finally got my dream bike, Kawasaki Ninja. Mom said I earned it for helping with HOA stuff." Dance videos with his expensive new motorcycles, saying when your mom is boss lady and takes care of her hardworking son. Posts at upscale restaurants with designer clothes, captioned, celebrating another successful week. Thanks to mom's business success, paying off. Tyler's social media presence painted the picture of a young man living far beyond any reasonable allowance, funded by money that was about to be traced back to the HOA accounts. Every post, every purchase, every boastful caption was building a case against both him and his mother. Saturday evening, Vicky called a mandatory community meeting at the community center. She'd spent days preparing an elaborate presentation designed to justify her spending and regain control of the narrative. The desperation in her preparation was evident. She knew this was her last chance to maintain her position and avoid criminal charges. Fellow neighbors, Vicky began attempting to recapture her authoritative professional tone. I want to address the completely false and defamatory accusations that have been made against your dedicated HOA leadership. The room was noticeably tense after Monday's shocking revelations about the frozen bank account. Many residents were suspicious and angry. Several people sat with arms crossed, no longer willing to give Vicky the benefit of the doubt. The expenditures in question were absolutely not personal spending of any kind. Every dollar was donated to our community charity, called Green Community Fund, which I personally established to benefit our neighborhood children and environmental projects. She projected a hastily created slide. Green Community Fund making our neighborhood better. The presentation looked professional, but careful observers could see it had been thrown together quickly. This charity focuses on environmental improvements, children's recreational activities, and community beautification projects. Every single dollar spent has gone toward these noble and necessary goals. A neighbor raised her hand skeptically. Can you show us specific examples of what this charity has actually accomplished? What projects have been completed? Vicky replied with forced confidence. Of course, we've funded comprehensive environmental consultations, community safety assessments, and extensive youth development programs throughout our neighborhood. Where exactly? When did these happen? I haven't seen any of these activities, and I'm here every day. Vicky deflected smoothly. Many of our most important activities are ongoing and behind the scenes in nature. Real community work doesn't always involve public publicity or visible construction projects. Tyler stood up to support his mother, though his nervousness was obvious. To everyone, yeah, my mom does tons of charity work. Like tons and tons, she's always helping people and doing community stuff. The awkward silence that followed made it clear that Tyler's obviously rehearsed statement had fallen completely flat. Vicky continued her damage control furthermore. These accusations of financial impropriety are not only completely false, but also potentially defamatory. Volunteers who sacrifice their time for the greater good. But the residents were no longer buying Vicky's explanations. Another neighbor spoke up firmly. Proof that any work was actually done with our money. I don't appreciate being subjected to this kind of hostile interrogation by people who don't understand the complexities of community management. We have every right to know exactly how our HOA money is being spent. That's our money you're talking about. The tension in the room was escalating rapidly. Vicky could see that the community was turning against her, and her desperation was becoming more obvious by the minute. That's when I stood up from the back of the room, carrying my laptop and a folder of documents. Actually, I've been conducting a thorough investigation of these claims. Would everyone like to see what I discovered? Vicky's face went pale, her carefully applied makeup unable to hide her fear. David, this is highly inappropriate and potentially illegal. You have no authority to investigate anything. Charlotte, would you mind helping me connect my laptop to the projector? Charlotte hesitantly moved to help me, her hands still shaking from weeks of stress and intimidation. I'd spent the entire week working with a forensic accountant friend, analyzing every transaction and building an airtight case. Let's start by examining the Green Community Fund that Vicky has been talking about. The first slide appeared on the screen. Green Community Fund official registration documents. This charity was officially registered with the state last Tuesday. That's exactly 4 days after our previous meeting, where the bank account was frozen. It has no operational history, no board members except Victoria Peterson, and absolutely no documented activities or charitable work. Murmurs of anger filled the room as the implications became clear. Vicky objected desperately. The registration date doesn't mean anything. Charities can operate informally before official registration, but here's where it gets really interesting. I clicked to the next slide. Complete bank transaction history over the past 6 months, $30. Zero has been transferred from our HOA account to various recipients. Let me show you exactly where our community money actually went. Detailed transaction records appeared on the screen, and the room erupted as residents saw the truth. $5,000 to Tyler Peterson with Memo Educational Support Services, $3. Zero to Tyler Peterson with Memo Community Youth Liaison Consulting, $8,000 to Peterson Environmental with Memo Lake consultation fees, $4,000 to VIP Catering Services, a company owned by Vicky's sister, $10,000 to Community Improvement Fund, which was actually Victoria Peterson's personal checking account. The room exploded in angry voices. She paid her own son. It's all family business. This is straight up theft of our money. Tyler looked confused and increasingly scared. Mom, what's happening? I don't understand what this means. You said that money was my allowance because I helped you with HOA work. Vicky hissed at her son. Tyler, shut up right now. But the damage was already done. Tyler had just admitted in front of the entire community that he'd been receiving HOA money. But wait, there's much more evidence to examine, I continued calmly. Tyler, do you remember that expensive motorcycle you've been posting about on social media? I projected Tyler's own social media posts directly onto the screen for everyone to see, a photo of an $18.00 Kawasaki motorcycle with Tyler's caption, "Thanks Mom for the bonus money. This bike costs more than most people make in several months." A video of Tyler counting a stack of cash, saying, "Mom gave me $5,000 just because she's awesome." Being the HOA president's son definitely has its perks. Multiple dance videos featuring expensive designer clothes with captions like, "When your mom runs the whole neighborhood and hooks you up with everything designer lifestyle, thanks to Mom." Tyler has documented everything himself on social media. According to these posts and the bank records, he received at least $18.00 in HOA money over the past 6 months. He genuinely believed it was normal allowance money from his mom's successful business career. Tyler stood up in a panic, his voice cracking. "I didn't know it was stolen. Mom told me she was a successful businesswoman. She said, presidents make lots of money managing communities. I thought it was her salary." Vicky tried desperately to control the damage. Tyler is confused and doesn't understand adult financial matters. He's mischaracterizing normal family financial arrangements. Actually, let's ask Tyler directly about what his mother told him. I turned to address him. "Tyler, your mom specifically told you that the HOA pays her a salary for being president?" "Yeah, she said being president means she gets paid by the community to manage everything." She said all that money was from her management fees and consulting work. While complete silence fell over the room, every resident stared at Vicky in shock and disgust. A neighbor spoke up. "The HOA president position is completely volunteer. There is no salary, no consulting fees, no payment of any kind." Tyler looked devastated as the reality hit him. "What, Mom? You said you told me you earned this money through your job." Vicky was completely cornered now. Tyler doesn't understand complex financial arrangements between organizations. "So your adult son thinks stealing community money is a legitimate business operation?" another resident asked with cold anger. Tyler slumped in his chair, finally understanding the magnitude of what his mother had done. "Oh my God, Mom, where did the money really come from? Did you steal it?" I continued presenting the evidence systematically. The fake invoices from Peterson Environmental, a company that exists only on paper and has never performed any actual work. The community improvements that never happened anywhere in our neighborhood. The youth programs that consisted entirely of cash payments to Tyler Peterson. Every dollar can be traced through bank records. Every transaction is documented with Vicky's signature. Victoria Peterson established an elaborate criminal scheme to systematically funnel HOA money to herself and her family, while claiming it was for charitable community purposes. What made this particularly infuriating was how systematic and premeditated it all was. This wasn't someone making a few bad decisions in the heat of the moment. Vicky had clearly planned this entire operation from the day she took office. She had studied our HOA bylaws, specifically looking for loopholes and weaknesses she could exploit. She had registered fake businesses, created fraudulent paperwork, and developed a whole network of family members ready to participate in her scheme. The Green Community Fund wasn't just a hastily thrown together cover story. She had actually filed the proper paperwork with the state-created official-looking materials, and even set up a basic website to make it appear legitimate. She had invested significant time and effort into making her theft look professional and legal. The sheer audacity of it was breathtaking. Here was someone who had been elected to serve her community, and instead she treated the position like a license to steal. Every meeting where she talked about community values and fiscal responsibility was just an elaborate performance while she systematically looted our treasury. The room was dead silent except for Tyler's quiet crying. The golden boy, who had live-streamed his luxury lifestyle, was finally realizing that everything was built on stolen money from his neighbors. Vicky made one last desperate attempt to save herself. This is all lies and manipulation. David is fabricating documents to get revenge. He's angry about the lake issue, and he's trying to destroy me. Actually, Vicky, I have audio recordings of our conversations. I played a crystal-clear recording on my phone, Vicky's voice, discussing how she would make David's life very complicated and show him who really runs this community and what happens to people who don't cooperate with me. That was the final straw that broke any remaining support she might have had. A neighbor stood up angrily. I motioned for immediate removal of Victoria Peterson as HOA president and immediate referral to police for criminal investigation. Seconded. Multiple voices responded in unison, all in favor of removing Victoria Peterson and calling the police. Every single hand in the room raised except Vicky's and Tyler's. Tyler stood up shakily, tears streaming down his face. Mom, I need to go home. I feel sick about all of this. He stumbled toward the exit, finally understanding that his perfect life had been built on lies and theft. From his neighbors, Vicky chased after him. Tyler, wait, I can explain everything. It's not what it looks like. But Tyler kept walking, unable to face the reality of what his mother had done and his unwitting participation in her crimes. As residents discussed next steps and potential legal action, I packed up my laptop. Charlotte approached me with tears of relief. David, what's going to happen to Tyler? He really seems like he didn't know the money was stolen. Tyler will have to face legal consequences, but he's young and was clearly manipulated by someone he trusted, the real criminal mastermind. Here is Vicky. Through the window, we could see Vicky's car still in the parking lot. She was sitting inside, probably calling lawyers or planning her next move. This isn't over yet, I told Charlotte. Cornered animals are the most dangerous, and Vicky will try something desperate before this is finished. What could she possibly do now? Everyone knows the truth about what she's done. I watched Vicky's car finally speed away into the night. When people lose everything, they sometimes try to burn down everyone else with them. We need to be ready for whatever she's planning next. What desperate move will Vicky make now that she's completely exposed? What would you do if you were backed into a corner like Vicky? Tell me in the comments. Monday morning, I woke up to sirens. 3 police cars sped past my house toward the community center. My phone buzzed with neighbor texts. Emergency, HOA meeting, police at the community center. Vicky called cops again. I arrived at the community center to find Vicky had barricaded herself in the HOA office, with Tyler surrounded by boxes of documents through the window. I saw her frantically shredding papers. Officer Martinez approached me. Are you David Miller? Yes, ma'am. Inside. Claims you've been harassing her and stealing HOA documents. She's demanding your arrest for fraud and intimidation. Through the window, Vicky saw me talking with the police. She stormed out, hair disheveled, makeup smeared, completely different from the composed woman of weeks ago. Officers, arrest this man immediately. He's been stalking me, breaking into HOA files, and fabricating evidence to destroy my reputation. Tyler followed reluctantly, looking ashamed and scared. Ma'am, we need to sort this out calmly. Officer Martinez said, there's nothing to sort out. He's a criminal. He's manipulated financial records to make it look like I stole money. It's all lies, designed to steal my position and take revenge for the lake issue. More residents gathered, drawn by the commotion. Charlotte arrived, carrying a box of financial documents. Vicky pointed accusingly. She's his accomplice. They've been conspiring against me. Charlotte has been feeding him confidential information. Officer Martinez asked, Sir, do you have any documentation of your authority in this organization? This was the perfect setup for the final reveal. I calmly pulled out my wallet, removed my official ID card, and folded documents. Officers, I am David Miller, elected budget manager of Oakwood Community, HOA. I was voted into this position when the HOA was incorporated in 2021, 2 years before Mrs. Peterson became president. I handed the documents to Officer Martinez. Here's my official appointment letter signed by founding members, filed with state authorities, and registered with the bank as authorized financial overseer. Officer Martinez examined the papers carefully. These appear legitimate and properly notarized, Vicky desperately replied. That's impossible. I would have known. No one told me about any budget manager. Actually, Vicky, it's listed in every HOA charter document. You would have seen it if you'd bothered to read the governing documents. Before assuming you had unlimited power, I turned to the officers. As budget manager, I have legal authority to review all expenditures over $5,000, freeze accounts, pending investigation of irregular activity, and report suspected embezzlement to authorities. Every action I've taken is within my legal rights. Mrs. Peterson, however, has been operating under the false assumption that president position grants unlimited financial control. Tyler quietly asked, Mom, you really didn't know about this position? Vicky, snapped Tyler. Shut up, Officer Martinez said. Ma'am, please don't yell at your son. Sir, can you explain exactly what you discovered? I addressed the growing crowd of residents and police. For the past 6 months, Mrs. Peterson has systematically diverted HOA funds to personal use. She established a fake charity, created fraudulent invoices from family businesses, and paid her son thousands in consulting fees for non-existent work. Total amount embezzled approximately $65,000. Gasps came from residents. Even Tyler looked shocked at the total. But here's what makes this particularly egregious. Mrs. Peterson did all this while threatening the bookkeeper with prosecution if she questioned any transactions. She used fear tactics to ensure compliance. Charlotte stepped forward. Officers, I can confirm this. Mrs. Peterson told me I would face criminal charges if I reported her suspicious spending. Officer Martinez asked Mrs. Peterson, how do you respond to these accusations? Vicky was completely unhinged now. It's all lies. They're conspiring against me. David is trying to steal control of the HOA. He's been plotting this since the lake incident. Actually, I said calmly, I've been monitoring HOA finances since 2021. I never intervened. Because previous presidents were honest, you forced my hand with your criminal behavior. Tyler finally spoke up. Mom, just tell the truth. Did you really steal money? I didn't steal anything. That money was for community benefit, but you gave it to me. You bought me a motorcycle. You paid your brother-in-law's fake company. Tyler, stop talking, Officer Martinez said. Young man, did you know where the money came from? Tyler cried. Now no, Mom told me she had a successful business. She said, presidents get paid salaries. I thought she earned everything. Vicky made a final, desperate play. Officers, you have to understand, David Miller has been stalking me for weeks. He broke into my home, stole documents, and has been threatening me. Actually, Charlotte, interrupted Mr. Miller, requested documents through proper legal channels. I provided them because it's required by law. When the budget manager requests a financial review, I added officers. Every document I have was obtained legally. Every allegation I have made is supported by bank records, official receipts, and Mrs. Peterson's own signed authorizations. Furthermore, I have recordings of Mrs. Peterson threatening Charlotte, attempting to coerce false bookkeeping, and admitting to fraudulent expenses. Vicky realized she was completely cornered. It's all a misunderstanding. I can pay the money back. I can fix everything. So you admit there's money to pay back? Officer Martinez asked. Vicky was caught in her own words. I mean. Tyler stood up. Mom, please just stop. Everyone knows what happened. Just tell the truth. For once, Officer Martinez pulled out handcuffs. Victoria Peterson, you're under arrest for embezzlement of community funds, filing false police reports, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. As the handcuffs clicked on, Vicky broke down completely. This isn't fair. I worked so hard for this community. I was trying to make improvements. David ruined everything. Tyler watched his mom getting arrested. Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have asked questions. I should have known better. Residents who had gathered watched in stunned silence as the woman who terrorized their community for months was led away in handcuffs. A neighbor approached me. David, what happens now? Now we rebuild. We elect new leadership, establish proper financial oversight, and ensure this never happens again. Will you run for president? I looked around at the faces of neighbors, people I'd lived near 4 years, but barely knew until this crisis brought us together. If the community wants me to serve, I will, but this time we'll do it right. Transparency, accountability, and respect for everyone's rights. Tyler approached hesitantly. Mr. Miller, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but what happens to me, Tyler? You made mistakes, but you were manipulated by someone you trusted. The courts will decide legal consequences, but you're young. You can learn from this and build a better life. Will I have to pay the money back? Yes, but there are payment plans, community service options. The goal isn't to destroy your future, it's to make things right. Charlotte smiled. David, should I start preparing the budget for next year? Yes, Charlotte. And this time, every dollar will be accounted for. Every resident will know exactly how their money is spent. As police cars drove away with Vicky inside, I stood with neighbors who were no longer strangers, looking toward a future where our community could actually function as a community should. 3 months later, my lake was peaceful once again, but now it served a dual purpose. Every Saturday morning, I host community coffee for neighbors who want to discuss HOA business in an informal setting. Tyler had sold his motorcycle, moved back with his father, and started a community service program. He's quieter now, more thoughtful, working to rebuild trust. Vicky received an 18-month sentence, plus restitution of $65,000. Her house is for sale. She never returned to community leadership. Charlotte is thriving as head financial officer with proper budget authority and transparent processes, and I discovered something unexpected. Being involved in the community isn't a burden, it's rewarding. When everyone has a voice and honest leadership, amazing things happen. A new sign by the lake reads Miller Ranch. Lake community welcome by invitation sometimes. Neighbors bring their kids for afternoon fishing. Sometimes we just sit quietly watching water reflect the sky. Tyler visited last week, first time since the arrest. Mr. Miller, can I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you just move away when Mom started causing trouble? I thought for a moment. Because running away from problems doesn't solve them, Tyler. Sometimes you have to stand up and fight for what's right, even when it's difficult. I wish I had learned that lesson sooner. You're learning it now. That's what matters. As the sun sets over the lake, I realized that this place, this community, is finally what I hoped it would be when I first moved here. Peaceful, honest, and truly shared among people who respect each other. Sometimes the quietest person in the room really is running the whole show, and sometimes that's exactly what the show needs. Did justice really win, or are there more Karens lurking in Hess everywhere? Share this story with anyone who's ever dealt with a power-hungry Karen. They need to see this ending. 3 months later, my lake was peaceful once again, but now it served a dual purpose. Every Saturday morning, I host community coffee for neighbors who want to discuss HOA business in an informal setting. Tyler had sold his motorcycle, moved back with his father, and started a community service program. He's quieter, now more thoughtful, working to rebuild trust. Vicky received an 18-month sentence, plus restitution of $65,000. Her house is for sale. She never returned to community leadership. Charlotte is thriving as head financial officer with proper budget authority and transparent processes. And I discovered something unexpected. Being involved in the community isn't a burden. It's rewarding. When everyone has a voice and honest leadership, amazing things happen. A new sign by the lake reads, Miller Ranch Lake Community welcome by invitation sometimes. Neighbors bring their kids for afternoon fishing. Sometimes we just sit quietly watching water reflect the sky. Tyler visited last week, first time since the arrest. Mr. Miller, can I ask you something? Sure. Why didn't you just move away when Mom started causing trouble? I thought for a moment. Because running away from problems doesn't solve them, Tyler. Sometimes you have to stand up and fight for what's right, even when it's difficult. I wish I had learned that lesson sooner. You're learning it now. That's what matters. As the sun sets over the lake, I realized that this place, this community, is finally what I hoped it would be when I first moved here. Peaceful, honest, and truly shared among people who respect each other. Sometimes the quietest person in the room really is running the whole show, and sometimes that's exactly what the show needs. If this video made you say, "No way, that's real,"